Welcome, brave souls, to Fear File Chronicles, your one-way ticket to spine-chilling stories and terrifying tales. Tonight, we'll be diving into the darkest corners of the human mind with a story, Skin and Bone, penned by the twisted mind of Macciata. Together, we'll explore the unexplained and face our deepest fears. But before we begin, if you enjoy trembling in terror, be sure to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow fear fanatics, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell notification so you never miss an eerie episode. Your support truly means the world to us. So feel free to leave a comment below to join the Fear File Chronicles community. Now, without further ado, let's unravel the mysteries of the unknown together as we delve into tonight's fear-inducing story, Skin and Bone. Dim the lights and prepare yourself for a chilling journey into the Fear File Chronicles. The ballroom looks like it was custom-made for magazines to call sumptuous. A single room, 2 stories high, is at the top of a tall building. 2 opposite walls are entirely of glass, looking disdainfully out across the night-lit city below. The design theme is black marble and gold deco flourishes. Glass-paned railings line the raised areas flanking the main floor. The lighting is indirect, of course. Wall sconces, underlit counters, and stairs. Pure white shining squares atop marble plinths supporting elegant ice sculptures. Piled upward on the distant ceiling is a raft of helium balloons in gold and silver, black and white. They hide some device that drops a continuous but light snow of confetti. The people in the room are there to be seen. Women silently compete for the most outrageous yet subdued attire. Throughout the evening, a spiteful consensus develops on the winners and losers through telephone game passive-aggressive whispers. Men assess the prices of each other's identical black evening wear. On the raised stage, behind which rises a behemoth golden deco mushroom cloud, the contempo swing band plays. The number sounds sort of 40s, maybe 30s, some kind of old-fashioned. It's sedate background music with a name nobody knows and a tune nobody will remember. There's no dancing, yet. It's too early to be drunk enough to couple up and slow dance to that sort of soft, casual, sweet, nothing of a tune. However, the trays of champagne circulating the room, in proper flutes to preserve the sparkle and capture the nose, not in broad, shallow margarita glasses practically designed to ruin the experience, are helping to work on that. This is the time before the affair really starts. It's the time to roam the room alone, or in small flocks. People find out who is or isn't there, enthusiastically greeting friends. They greet enemies even more effusively. Guests cruise the buffet, but don't take anything yet. It doesn't count if something small is popped into one's mouth. You haven't started eating until something is on a plate. It's essential to ensure that everyone who matters has seen how finely you're dressed. Rick hates everything about it. Without a sense of irony, he considers the entire crowd phonies. They're glad-handing loci of wealth accumulation whose every interaction is a strategic maneuver. At least tonight, he doesn't have to herd a camera crew around the crowds. He doesn't have to seek 5 seconds of FaceTime from celebs who treat him like kryptonite. He's officially unofficial tonight. He's not a member of the press, just a very minor media face with enough connections to score a ticket to the city's swankiest New Year's party. But he's got his eyes and ears open anyway. His phone is at the ready. Aside from the gossamer-brained heiresses, aging leading men, and musicians du jour, this annual shindig draws in some of the real players. They are string pullers, serious money, and elected servants of the public. The elite of the city, as far above consequence as the penthouse party is above the streets, are getting drunk and festive. No telling what might happen. It could be quite photogenic. And if nothing of real interest happens, at least the food ought to be good. Possibly the best spread in the entire city tonight. Now, here she comes. It's as though summoned by the thought of a well-arrayed buffet. Sleeking through the crowd straight toward him with the broad, welcoming smile of a hungry predator is Pamela Norman. She's the city's beloved princess of hospitality, second only to Queen Stuart herself.
Richard, darling, such a delight to see you here.
She gushes. Her voice is warm and sincere as a wood-grain veneer. She closes in on him for an embrace crinkling with stiff lace trim. She draws back, sliding her silk gloves down the sleeves of his formal jacket to take his hands.
I hope you're not here on duty, ace reporter.
She laughs brightly. The idea seems just too absurd to her, but her hands tighten their grip enough for him to feel the points of her nails against his palm.
Just a private citizen tonight, Pam.
He extracts his hands carefully and holds them up in a surrender position. Her eyes, blue as sapphire and sharp as diamond, pierce through his innocent expression with preternatural ease.
Sure you're not chasing scandals?
She asks in a still playful but darkening tone.
Or, oh, aha. Richard, are you following the rumors about this party?
He hesitates, if only for the narrowest hair of an instant, but she catches it.
Oh, good heavens, dearie. Are you really expecting? What? Danny DiCarlo passing a big sack of money over to the commissioner? Mayor Dyson in a hot tub with the East Side High Cheer team? Or, better yet, maybe at midnight we'll roll out a special table and sacrifice an unbaptized baby to Satan. Or welcome our alien overlord with a round of ceremonial Kool-Aid. Oh, Richard, you really have to get yourself out of the podcast slums and back to real journalism.
I'm only here to enjoy the party,
he says stiffly.
Please. When have you ever just enjoyed a party?
I like that dip you took in the pool at the Brooker wedding.
Her smile vanishes. Her eyes freeze.
Well, you've proved me wrong. Tabloid asswipes and internet mudholes are where you belong. You broke a couple of real stories once, 20 years ago, but all you've been good for since then is celebrity crotch shots and coasting around the daytime talk shows on what little value your name still has.
She rotates on her heel and moves away. She snaps back over her shoulder.
Enjoy the party, Mr. Camden.
Rick stands there a moment, holding his half-empty champagne glass. He rifles his mind for a comeback, but clearly, the victory is hers. The party is all right at least. There are people Rick knows here. Some he doesn't know personally, but is happy to meet. Even some are starstruck to meet a low-level celebrity like himself. And as expected, the food is fantastic. The buffet is of a scale, variety, and quality sufficient to incite a revolution. An entire table of nothing but different pastas and sauces. A line of roasts and poultry, each with an attendant ready to carve off portions. Veritable lagoons of seafood, all overseen by gleaming guardians of chiseled ice. Decoratively carved pineapples, artfully arranged fishing nets, 6-foot palm trees spaced evenly along each row of tables, and miniature volcanoes holding sauces or acting as chocolate fountains create a tropical theme for some reason. Cruising along to survey the bounty before deciding what to pile his plate with first, Rick's eye is caught by the caviar spread, a little private beach of its own, with the caviar bowls and surrounding dishes of blinis, lemon segments, creme fraiche, and other accoutrements, nestled into a bank of sand. Enticed, he spoons a small amount onto a toast point to sample it. Miraculous. His eyes close as the flavor, nutty and rich with just the slightest hint of sea in the salt, bursts across his tongue. He considers himself fairly skilled at assessing caviar, which is distinct from many things he considers himself skilled at, being something he's actually skilled at. And this is caviar of the highest quality he's encountered in his life. This stuff must cost a good apartment's rent per ounce. There's no doubt what he's going to start with on this buffet, and he sets to dishing a good-sized glob of the luscious glossy black spheres onto his plate along with smaller dabs of all the trimmings. He brings the plate over to a thick black marble planter of convenient height for sitting, grabbing along the way a second glass of champagne. He has no intention of getting plastered tonight, but 2 or 3 flutes of bubbly are certainly well within his limit. And only such a top-notch beverage can do justice to the lofty quality of the caviar. He goes through 2 plates before electing to start sampling the rest of the buffet, vaguely embarrassed by how much of the expensive treat he's eaten. But after all, there are 2 enormous bowls on the buffet, so it's not like he's hogging it all. Even so, it would be silly to fill up on just one thing, however tasty, when so much else is on offer. He's in the midst of spooning some small meatballs in an unknown but tangy golden brown sauce onto his plate when he finds himself swaying a little. Suddenly lightheaded, moving his head creates a vertiginous tilting sensation, as though his cranium were on a rocking boat while his feet remained on solid ground. He makes a hasty retreat to the planter bench, where he plops heavily down, a sudden sheen of sweat gleaming on his forehead. Sitting still is a little better, but not by much. It feels as though the entire building is slowly rotating along all axes, so much so that he has a strange, vivid image of the entire ballroom separating from the building and drifting free into strange dimensions of space. Gazing blankly around the room with eyes gone watery, he seems to see everything distorting along with the twisting of the room, squashing and stretching as they spin. Faces in the crowd melt between strange forms, masks blossoming out from their eyes before transforming to unnatural animal visages, then back. And are they staring at him? Can they see something's wrong with him? Is he making noise? He must be. A wave of strange crawling feelings sweeps up his body, flows up to his head, and snaps off, leaving him a moment of clearer vision. The murmur of concerned voices breaks through the chittery rattle in his ears, and he can see that a small ring of partygoers are looking at him, in fact. He tries to say something to them, but realizes that he's already making a weird, choking, warbling noise, and he can't seem to stop. Something. No, not something. A person. It looks like something else for a moment, but as the carrot, orange, and seafoam green colors loom closer, it comes into focus. Pam. It's Pam Norman. She's coming close and taking his hand, waving the gathered rubberneckers away. She moans, but then another shuddering snap hits Rick, and it all becomes clear again. Pam is sitting beside him on the planter, gently patting his cheeks.
Rick, look at me. Are you here? Come on, dear.
As if rising from deep water, Rick finds his mind clearing. Somewhat. At least enough to see Pam and comprehend what she's saying, though things behind her still seem warped and somehow threatening.
Jesus, Pam. I don't feel very good. What the hell is in that champagne? Did someone dose me?
Now, calm down, it's okay.
She puts one hand behind his head and holds it up straight.
Just relax, it will pass.
What will pass? What the hell is going on?
Pam shakes her head with a rueful but affectionate smile.
Oh, Rick, always diving in before scouting the landscape. So eager to get into the skyline gala looking for dirt. Well, now you're in.
Rick stares at her, wide-eyed and angry, as his vision begins to slip again. In his view, Pam wobbles and ripples as though her skin is a pond with strange fishes swimming beneath it.
What? What the fuck, Pam? Can't you just give me a straight answer? Is this the whole deal then? Some kind of drug party? Or do they just drug some people and then point and laugh? What the fuck?
Pam shakes her head. Or maybe it's just his warped vision and gives him what might be a sympathetic smile. Chuckling softly.
Don't try to play detective now, Rick.
She turns away and says something to one of the waitstaff. In Rick's eyes, it seems as though she rotates much too far. With a fluid pivot, it appears as though her top half wasn't really connected to her hips. A strange fish pond ripple flows in a twirl beneath her dress. She flows back toward him.
We're going to get you some water. Just stay here and drink it. You'll feel better before long.
Her head flexes upward on a neck that seems too loose and checks the clock on the wall.
It'll be midnight soon. Everything will be clear after the countdown. Trust me, it's easier just to show you than to try to explain.
She stands and gives his hand a reassuring pat.
Just sit tight. You'll feel better soon.
All he can do is shake his head in disbelief. She steps backward, as though worried he might be about to fall over, then moves away. Someone carefully hands him a glass of water and helps him bring it to his mouth, although he feels like he'll surely just throw it right back up. The first swallow bursts on him like a miracle. He quickly chugs most of the glass. It really does feel better. The coldness seems to wash down not just his throat and stomach, but flows through his entire body, down to his feet. A second glass, and he feels nearly human again. His senses are cleared, and he's aware of his surroundings. He feels weird still. It's as though he'd had too much to drink, and perhaps too much weed as well, which is worrisome since he hasn't done either. Yet, the feeling is tranquilizing. The relief of coming down from whatever bad trip he experienced also mellows his mood. Soon, he's able to act normal enough that all the helpful people hovering around him feel safe leaving. The gawkers drift away with nothing much left to gawk at. Since Pam had told him just to sit tight, the first thing he naturally does is stand and wander away. He takes his glass of ice. He tells himself he's looking for more water, but he's really searching the crowd for a clue. He's looking for someone who seems suspicious, some kind of answer. He can feel the unsteadiness of his steps. By now, he's hardly the only visibly off-balance guest. The party is heating up with liquor and other substances. The band has shifted to higher energy numbers, drawing a lively group of dancers to the floor. Everything, including himself, feels off-kilter. The only frame of reference he can think of is that camera trick in movies where the background seems to tilt and jerk around the actor. His senses seem clear, not warped and foggy like before. Yet, that only makes the sense of wrongness more pronounced. It was one thing to see shapes and colors shifting strangely when everything seemed off, but it's another thing entirely to see oddities in crystal clear vision. He notices quick flashes of oddness at the edges of his vision. They vanish when he tries to look directly, like elusive eye floaters. Yet, as his internal alarms grow louder, he becomes more alert. He sees a rat's head poking from a man's jacket pocket. There's a woman with a snake around her neck. More insects seem to be flying around the room. While these sights are strange, they still belong to the natural world. However, he's brought to a halt by the sight of a young lady in a scarlet evening gown. He stares until she notices him. He offers a slight nod and smile, trying to make it seem casual, before moving on with his mind spinning. Something is seriously wrong. He saw multiple small shapes moving beneath that girl's skin, like creatures crawling up and down her arms. Soon, he notices similar things everywhere. Many attendees appear to have unsettling movements beneath their skin. Their faces are contorted with the unmistakable outlines of squirming vermin. It's as if the party is full of people who are hosts to snakes, roaches, and mice. Looking at the buffet table is a grave mistake. The banquet seems alive. Rats and mice scramble among the cheese boards. Worms and centipedes wriggle in bowls of pasta. Serpents weave through the sausage. Enthralled with horror, he's drawn to the one thing he dreads seeing: the caviar, the gleaming dark spheres. He can't bear it. He can't even think about it. He tries to run. He stumbles and pushes through the partygoers, ignoring their protests. He crashes into the wall beside the bathroom and yanks the door open. Inside, there's no time to find a stall. The sink is closer. He braces his hands on the counter and vomits. What emerges is a mixture of bile, pizza remains, and hundreds of tiny black spherical spiders. A hoarse scream escapes his throat. However, it sounds distorted, as if hundreds of spiders are mimicking a human voice by scraping their legs together. He turns on the faucet and frantically washes the squirming black widows down the drain. Unwillingly, he raises his eyes to the mirror. Countless small spheres writhe beneath his skin. A fringe of black, wiry legs tickles between his lips. And when he tries to push the horrible things out, he realizes that his tongue has been replaced with a mass of spiders clinging tightly together. They simulate the shape of his tongue in a bumpy approximation with the curved shells of their abdomens. Even as he watches, more legs emerge from the outer corner of his left eye and twitch for purchase. They try to pull a bulbous body out into the open. Another howl of horror echoes off the porcelain. He lunges away from the mirror and crashes back out the door. The ballroom floor has become a landscape from the sweating night terrors of Bosch. People dance and drink and laugh with a carefree lack of concern for the creatures crawling all over their bodies. The band leader is singing in a raw, bluesy voice. Wasps flow from his lips with every tone and swarm in preternaturally disciplined spirals around his body. He brings the raucous barrel house jazz number to a close with a savagely joyful crow.
When you're on that crowded dance floor with those red-hot saxophones, it ain't no sin to take off your skin and dance around in your bones.
No sooner does the band behind him finish the last flourish than he bows with thanks to the audience. The chant begins to rise from those who've been minding the TV monitors spaced around the walls.
10, 9, 8.
Now most of the voices in the room have caught on and joined in. The chorus still sounds human, but layered over them is an array of croaks, shrieks, grating buzzes, and blatting toad calls.
7, 6.
Something touches Rick's shoulder. He nearly leaps 20 feet in startled terror, his shriek lost amid the raucous crowd. It's Pam, or most of her. Rats skitter up and down her body, in and out of her dress, chasing each other through the wreck of her formerly elaborate hairdo. She laughs merrily, and a pair of shiny, bulbous eyes peek between her teeth.
Oh, Ricky, what's eating you?
She says, in a voice of choral squeaks.
5, 4, 3.
Rick screams again and again. He feels the flow of spider bodies dripping from his lips with each cry. Pam approaches, slips one hand behind his back and the other onto his shoulder, swaying as though inviting him to dance.
2, 1.
The room explodes in jubilance. Noisemakers, confetti poppers, and air horns fill the air. Around the rim of the city below, fireworks are set loose. All across the ballroom floor, couples and people who happen to be standing next to each other exchange kisses. They let their vermin crawl over each other's bodies.
Happy New Year, Rick.
Pam, Squeal says tenderly.
Let's let bygones be bygones.
She turns her head up, clearly expecting a kiss. Rick tries to draw back in revulsion, but her hand goes from his shoulder to the back of his head, and he gives in. Her tongue's wiggly nose and tickly whiskers tease across the slick carapaces of his. His spiders flow across her cheeks as her rats scurry through his hair. Another chant begins. It starts low and grows as more of the guests join.
Unmask! Unmask! Unmask!
The chant rises. Rick breaks the kiss to look aside to the loudest nexus of it. It seems the crowd is mostly chanting to encourage the girl in the scarlet dress. She vamps and makes coy, "I can't hear you" gestures, dripping worms all over the stage.
Unmask?
He asks softly, realizing that he's gained control of his strange spider voice. Pam laughs again, the eyes of the rats in her eye sockets twinkling with amusement.
Oh, Rick, you're still so new to this. It's not some silly piece of cloth or paper they're talking about.
On the stage, the girl, squealing with naughty laughter, has drawn her dress up to her waist. As she pulls it up further and her breasts pop out beneath it, the crowd goes wild. Fresh flights of flies and bats skirling up like graduation hats. Others throughout the crowd are similarly disrobing or pulling the clothes off each other, the humanity draining from the collective chanting and celebratory voices in favor of pulsing, rhythmic animal sounds. The girl on stage is completely nude, but her gathered admirers continue to chant.
Unmask! Unmask! Unmask!
Suddenly, Rick gets it, just moments before the girl raises her hands to her scalp and pulls the skin apart neatly down the middle. Worms flow from the bloodless wound, and she continues peeling it down, making a strip tease of it, sensuously drawing the skin of her arms off and shimmying her hide down past her hip bones. There's nothing between skin and bone but worms, bunched in coordination like muscles, animating her skeleton. They've eaten her flesh, eaten her hollow. Rick understands. His skin is just a wrapper now, a mask, for hiding among the humans. What used to be inside him has been a buffet for the spiders. He sees the police commissioner shucking out of his gray-haired old costume, revealing a fake beer gut made of clustered eels. Mayor Dyson is a pack of lizards, which gets a sharp laugh from Rick. As the skins come off, the puppet skeletons are groping and embracing, melding their flocks in the motions of passion, sinking down to the floor, divested of masks and shame. The kitchen doors open and the chefs, along with the waitstaff, come out with their bones nice and tidy, their vermin carefully marshaled into close human semblance, wearing their smart uniforms and toques over their skin-free forms. Surrounding the buffet tables, they take up the platters, bowls, and trays, and begin flinging the contents over the crowd, which grunts and squeals in appreciation, consuming the splattering feast even as they thrust and thrash in lusty undulations. But Pam forcibly turns Rick's head away from the carnal spectacle, back to her, eye rats looking directly into whatever arrangement might currently serve him as eyes, and sliding off his jacket. He's got no resistance left in him. The spiders know what they want, and he sees no reason to rebel. Hastily, he gets his arms out of the jacket, and together they get his shirt unbuttoned, and he shucks out of that too. Then, with his arms freed, he pulls on the straps of her dress and tugs them down, and her skin splits conveniently at the shoulders, and the long sleeves of her arms peel off the writhing and coupling rats below, and together they too slide down to the floor, and the snakes and roaches and millions of ants of their neighbors meet and mingle and explore. But each skeleton-centered swarm remains distinct and aware, and it's Pam and her rats and Rick and his spiders who join together and exchange their selves amid the crawling living carpet of the ballroom floor. Well, my friends, we've reached the end of tonight's chilling tale, Skin and Bone, by the talented Macciata. I hope you've enjoyed our descent into darkness and that you'll carry a piece of the Fear File Chronicles with you as you drift into uneasy dreams. If our story left you shivering and shaking, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who crave a good scare, and subscribe to the Fear File Chronicles for more haunting horrors. Remember to hit the bell notification so you're always among the first to know when a new nightmare awaits. As always, we appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Sharing your fears and frights with us truly means a lot, so don't be shy to engage with our sinister community. Until next time, remember to embrace the darkness, for it is within the shadows that our most terrifying stories are born. Good night, and stay scared.